Hello and welcome to today's video. Today's video is 31 Days of Halloween, Day 21, Evil Fairy Door. I've done a couple of fairy doors on my channel in the past. One was a wall hanging and the other one was a shadow box. So for this one, I wanted to go ahead and do a shadow box again. I had a lot of fun doing that one, and I could do more dimensions with it. So I'm going to do this one as a shadow box as well. So first I'm going to take this apart, and I want to use that inside wood frame to use as my gauge for my size of my shadow box. Now I don't need the glass that's in here, so I'm going to get rid of that. Now, the reason why I don't use the glass is because I don't want to have to worry about it keeping it clean, worry about it breaking, and then I don't have to be restricted. I can have stuff stick out a little bit farther. So first thing I'm going to do is soften up some clay for the door. Now I did see online, and I wish I knew the artist's name, but there was a fairy door that had a purple door and a skull like door knocker on it. So I wanted to do something like that. I didn't want to copy their design exactly, but I just wanted to mention I did see that on the old internets. So I still want it to look like a wooden door, so I mixed in some darker purple with this purple, kind of mixed up some black with it, and then swirled that in. Now I'm cutting my boards, and I want to alternate them and then trim out the door shape. So once I get this door shape how I want, I can make sure it fits okay in my shadow box. I'm going to start adding some texture with my needle tool. And then I'm just going to do little notches on the tops and the bottoms to make it, have kind of a simulated wood look. The next thing I'm going to do is mix up some black clay and some pearl clay to give me this shimmery black, almost like a wrought iron type look, where I want it to look a little bit more metal. And I'm going to do this for some hardware on the door. I've got these little swirls here that kind of mark where the hinges would be. And the second one, I was trying to get it as close to the first one as I could. I knew it wasn't going to be perfect, but I still wanted it to be about the same size. So I kind of messed with that a little bit till I was happy with it. And then I'm going to do where the door handle is. So I'll do first the little plate that goes on the door. I'm going to do an indentation for the door handle and make a little hole where the keyhole would be. And then I'm just making a little ball of clay for the door handle. And the last thing I need to do on the door, with the black clay anyway, is the door knocker. So I just want to roll it into a circle and just kind of smooth it together so it's all one piece. And then I will go ahead and place it on the door, make sure it's not too big or too small. And then I'm going to go ahead and wash my hands because I'm going to work with some lighter clay. So I decided to use that example I was looking at, and then they had a skull there, so I thought I would try a skull. So I wanted to mix some white and pearl together. I did want it to be a little bit more white than pearl, so wasn't just going to use the pearl. But I do like to have that shininess to it, so I thought, well, I'll go ahead and do a little skull with white and pearl. Now, when I was doing it, I wasn't happy with the teeth. I wanted them to go over the door knocker, but they look more like tentacles. So I'm thinking, tentacles? Why don't I do a Cthulhu head on there? So now I went to my green clay, and I'm mixing that, or softening that up, and cutting out where I want the tentacles to be. And I thought these would look a lot better draped over the door knocker, and just makes sense on a little evil fairy door. Now I wasn't happy with how those tentacles were that I cut, so I went ahead and rolled some out, and I thought I would attach these to the top of my Cthulhu head, and I would just push them in there with my needle tool and then take my little ball tool and smooth them into place. And I was really happy how this worked out. So I just draped them over that door knocker so it looks like it's a functional knocker if you want to get that close to a Cthulhu head. Then I went ahead and did some indentions for the eyeballs, and I just took my mixture of black and silver and put that in there. And then I added a little more green clay to give them an evil look. Now I'm going to take some green and brown clay and cut off some little pieces to use for spots on the side of my Cthulhu. I like to do my monsters with spots on just one side of their body, and it's usually on my right, their left. I don't know why. I'm sure a psychologist could tell you, but anyway, I like to do that. I think it makes the piece look interesting. I just like the look of it. So I'm just going to go through kind of smooth out some of the areas, touch it up a little bit. Now that I'm happy with it, I'm going to set that aside, clean up my area a little bit, and I'm going to start mixing some colors for my stones. So using gray granite as the base, but I mixed some brown and some white with it to kind of give me different shades of stone. And I'm going to soften this clay up and put it around my door. So I want to just go with all different kinds of stone around it. And you can see I bring in that inner box of the shadow box, so my door, won't be too big for it. At least I'm hoping not. But I don't want to have too much gap on the side either. What's nice is that shadow box does have a black backdrop, so even if anything shows through, I don't think it'll look too out of place. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this up, fill in all these different little rocks, and then when I'm done with this, I'm going to go ahead and make some texture on it, kind of push it together, and I just, I think it adds more to it if it's textured, but also help put all those pieces kind of, push them together and get them to bond. Now, the last thing I'm going to do with this clay that I have out is I'm going to make some tiny rocks just in case I want to put some more on top of it after it's done. So I'm going to move my tools aside and go ahead and wash my hands so they're nice and clean, so I can start working on the spider webs. So I want to do a spider, and I want to have some webbing, and I want that to be in front of the door, obviously. And so I wanted to have some, layers to it. So I mixed some translucent and pearl together to do for my webbing, and I'm just rolling out in these little strands, and I'm just layering them on top of each other, trimming off my excess, just to give myself a nice, little spider web. I didn't want to do anything too extreme. Now I want to go ahead and put it in that frame, so I make sure it's at, a good 90 degrees so it'll fit in there well. And I'm doing the same thing with this spider web as I bring in that frame to make sure it's going to look okay. So with the webbing done, I'm going to make my little spider. So I'm just doing an indentation and pushing that webbing that's coming out of him in, so I can get that all to bond together. And then I'm going to roll out for his legs. So I want to do his legs pretty little. These I started off were a little bit thick, and so I couldn't fit 4 on a side. So I rolled 4 of them out and cut them in half, and then attach those. So this was really tricky with these small pieces, but I was able to get it done. So now I'm just going to add a little bit of detail to him. Just give him 2 little black eyes, just so he had something there. I thought about doing the white eyes, but I thought they might stand out too much. And then I just want to make sure it's all flush against that frame. Now the last thing I want to do is make a couple of little pumpkins. I figured it's for Halloween. Let's add a little more Halloween related decor. So I'm just going to make these little orange pumpkins, add the indentions with my needle tool, and then I'm going to do a second pumpkin, do it the same way, just shape it out, do the indentation at the top, and then take my needle tool, and then I just rock it around it. I don't drag it or anything. Now I'm going to make my little stems, and then once those are done, I can go ahead and bake this all according to package instructions. All right, now we got to put this thing together. Now, it is a little bit big for my shadow box, and as far as I know, and somebody asked me before if clay changes, size at all, shrinks or whatever in the oven, and I've never noticed it, but this was a pretty perfect fit before I baked it, so I don't know, and maybe it settles a little bit, but it's really easy to cut with an X-Acto knife. Just make sure you have a sharp knife, and make sure you take it slow so you don't hurt yourself and you don't break your piece. But once I had it to the size I wanted, well, almost, I'm going to trim it just a little bit more, clean up my mess. So once I get to the size I want, I can go ahead and I'll start gluing it in place. So I'm putting some glue on that background there, and then a little bit on my door. I'm going to push that into place. Then I'm going to go ahead and glue my pumpkins into place. I did put them there first to make sure they didn't look too big or anything. Get those in place, and then this spider web actually I was able to wedge it in where the glass went, and so I didn't really mess with it. And then I just glued my spider in there, one of his legs broke off, so I just glued that on. And then I said, well, I think I'm happy with it. I don't need to put any of those rocks on there, so I can save those for something else. I'm going to go ahead and let it dry for a bit, and then we'll take a look here at the finished Fairy Door Shadow Box. So I'm really happy how this turned out. This is a really fun piece. It's kind of a, I want to say a last minute idea, but this wasn't an idea I had at the beginning when I started doing my 31 Days of Halloween. So I was able, I was happy I was able to work this in. You can see there how it's layered. I really like doing shadow boxes. I think they're a fun fit for doing something out of polymer clay, because it's fun to, I like to work on that flat surface like with the magnet or a pin or something, but a shadow box you can go a little bit bigger and you can make a bunch of small pieces and put them together. And kind of how I did with the cauldron, where I made several pieces and put it all into one thing. And I'm just really happy with how this turned out. So I hope you guys liked it too. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like down below. If you want to be notified when my videos go live, be sure to hit the notification bell. And if you haven't already done so, definitely subscribe to my channel. All right, there'll be another Halloween video tomorrow, so be sure to come back and check that out. And thanks for watching, and remember, never stop creating. Bye. If you'd like a piece of your Halloween artwork featured in my final 31 Days of Halloween video, please hashtag Andrew's 31 Days of Halloween 2019 on Instagram, or email it to me at andrewschmidtclaycreations@gmail.com. I will put this information down in the description box below, so you don't have to copy it off of the screen. Deadline for submissions is October 26th, and one submission per artist.